Now we're talking to Billy Quarantillo, and we invite him on to talk about his big win against Kamuela Kirk at TKO by third round, Dana White Tuesday Contender Series Week 5. Just check it out on ESPN Plus right now. Get those numbers up. And, of course, he was on the Ultimate Fighter Season 22, where he had a chance to, be among some of the top fighters, and Conor McGregor, by favor, and former King of the Cage champion as well, Gracie, Tampa South. That's where we appreciate you taking time to be on the show, Bill.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Sorry, I don't have the best connection, but I appreciate you sitting down and talking to me.
Talk about the fight. I mean, I know it didn't start the way that you wanted in the first round. Kamuela Kirk, he was able to get a takedown on you, his will. But how'd you feel about the performance? And although it wasn't a fight that, it didn't start the way you wanted, you got the finish.
Yeah, definitely. I was getting a little nervous at first, but I knew I trusted my game plan, trusted in my training. And I knew after I was able to get out of that first round, I knew I was gonna do well and avoid going back there.
And how confident were you that you secured the UFC contract?
Honestly, right at first, I wasn't super confident right away because I did have that bad first round. He might have been able to say, oh, like he didn't look that good, right off the bat. I gave up a takedown. But I appreciate that, he understood I came back from it. I fought through adversity, and I finished Kamuela, who's a really tough kid, and no one's been able to finish him so far. So I think that was a big deal.
Yeah, and to stop his 3-fight winning streak as well. So very impressive.
Yes, indeed.
Now, what's the environment like? Was it really amazing here at the Apex for Dana White Tuesday Contender Series? Does it feel like a regional MMA show, except it's on a major platform? Like, because you have your friends, your family there, you can hear them, your coaches. It's not like a big arena event.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely different. It reminded me a lot of the Ultimate Fighter with how quiet it was. And it really didn't feel like a regional show at all, because the regional shows, usually I sell at least a few hundred tickets. So it feels like a big party, where this one, there was only 14 people I knew there. So I knew, and then Uriah Faber, and then of course Dana White and them. But, there's only a handful of people cheering for me. So it's definitely a weird environment, and it's kind of cool. You can hear your coaches really well. I kind of like it. It's like a weird silence during the fight. It's the only focus is on you, and there's no other any other different noises.
For sure. I assume they don't serve alcohol there.
No, they don't. And it's actually, since it's in Vegas, my fight was actually at 5 p.m. and they had to shuttle over there at 4 p.m. So it was the first fight that my crew has ever gone to where they weren't drinking heavily. They usually drink a lot and get rowdy and make a big party out of it. So it was definitely a different atmosphere.
For sure. And also coming back to UFC now, you're 30 years old. How does it feel? Do you feel like you're more mature, and what do you think are the differences?
Yeah, not only am I more mature. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'm heading back to bed.
Okay, sure, no worries.
Yeah, I'll stay right here. It's raining outside a little bit. So, yeah, definitely. I feel more experienced. I feel like, these last 4 years of training have been really good for me. It's just been super high-level training. I got to see what, Uriah Faber and Team Alpha Male and how those guys trained. And so I brought a lot of that back to the gym that I train at Gracie, Tampa South. I've been here since 2010. And I work with Matt Arroyo, and we've really been able to, step up our training, do what I'm supposed to do day in and day out, learn how to train and recover, learn how to cut weight better. Being on the show, having that experience is, you can't, the only way to get that is through time and experience. So, and I was able to get all that, and I'm a totally different fighter, which a lot of people came up to me and told me I look totally different, which was really cool.
Okay. Is everything going well with the video and audio?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I know
good,
it's raining over here, so it's a little bit louder. Let me try to pull this inside real quick, because here in Tampa Bay, we're kind of known for our rainstorms. It usually rains every single day around this time.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Talk about also, make it UFC? How important is it for you, not just you, but your gym, your teammates, see that you made it? You know, that you set an example. Hey, you can join the UFC. Hard work pays off, and
yeah, oh yeah, everyone here loves it. I'm actually at the gym right now. That's why it's a little bit louder. Yeah, everyone's super excited. Everyone reached out to me, and then very similar to when I was on The Ultimate Fighter, and then when Matt Frivola got signed to the UFC, the whole environment changes. You know, everyone gets so excited. The younger fighters know that it's possible. You know, they know we're doing the right stuff to get them to that next level. And a lot of it's just justification. You know, I've been training since 2010. You know, so if I didn't get to this point, you know, I feel like there'd be something wrong because I train super hard and I've been doing this consistently year after year after year. So it's a lot of hard work pays off type stuff, and a lot of motivation to the younger fighters and the fighters that are on the come up.
yeah, definitely. That's really cool to see that. And also, you were taking a lot of fights on the regional scene, you know, in between, you know, your first time you were on Ultimate Fighter and UFC till now. Now, where anything can really occur. So when you suffered the injuries, do you feel fortunate to have that experience? You know, even though you had the setbacks, were you able to come back from injuries that might have deterred people from pursuing this career in MMA?
Yeah. One of my boxing coaches, we would always say, because when I tore my ACL, I started training a lot differently. I started like, you know, not being able to sleep and coming in super early, and I still do everything I've done from that. So he always jokes that it was like tearing my ACL was the best thing that ever happened to me, which is like crazy to think about. But there was definitely a lot of positives. The time off was definitely the worst thing, but I think I did a really good job taking that time, that like year and a half, and developing skills that I wasn't working on consistently. And I got to attack those and level up a lot more with like my boxing and my strength and conditioning than I would have done if I didn't have that injury.
And did you find it hard to find fights? I know on the regional scene, a lot of fights drop off the week of, the day of. Did you find it hard to keep consistent and keep getting those fights booked?
Yeah, so that's something that I figured out. This is my 28th fight. So I've had, you know, I'm 11-2 as a pro, or I'm sorry, 12-2 as a pro now. I had the 2 Ultimate Fighter fights. I've had a boxing match. And for the most part, I've managed my own fights. And I think the biggest thing with that is trying to basically taking tougher fights and finding opponents that have good records. They're way less likely to bail out on the fights. You know, a lot of these guys have fights that fall through on the regional scene, and it's because they're fighting guys who are like 3-10 or like 1-5, and you're not really guaranteeing they're going to show up. They really have nothing to lose. So I've been able to find the fights that I've been able to get. The last few fights have been against tough guys that I knew were going to show up. I had that problem earlier in my career. The first loss I ever had was basically because someone dropped out, and I had to fight this kid JP Reese on like a day notice. And I just learned from that you know, if the guys don't have a really good winning record, they're definitely more likely to not show up. So no, I haven't had that problem lately.
That's good. Yeah, and also talk about your teammate Matt Frivola. I mean, he had a big win against Jalil Turner, and by decision. So how important was it for him to get the first big victory in the UFC?
Yeah, no, I don't like. I've talked about Matt too much. I can't talk about Matt anymore. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. I'm completely joking. Matt's the man. He looked great in his fight. I was out there in Atlanta with him. You know, he's another guy. He's worked his ass off. He's earned everything he's been given. And to finally see him get that first win, you know, he's had some, you know, kind of bad luck. The first fight in the UFC, that Polo Reyes tested positive for steroids like right after the fight. That was his only loss. Then he had a great fight with Landau Venata. He looked incredible, but it ended up being a draw. So close. The one judge had him winning. And then, you know, to finally go and win his third fight, it was just another one of those, you know, hard work pays off year after year after year of training and consistency. And that's what it takes to get that one victory in the UFC. And, you know, and on to the next one. And he got a nice contract off of that. So that's what it takes. A lot of hard work for those little victories.
Sure. And do you pay attention to the numbers for your fight? I know we saw Dana White releasing the numbers for the Contender Series fights.
I'm sorry, what was that? All I heard was numbers for the Contender Series.
Yeah, you pay attention to that, like how many numbers your fight got as opposed to other ones. I know recently Dana White released some numbers about fighters getting their, how many viewers they get for their fight. Not
Yeah,
like the day of, but like overall.
Yeah, I did see that. I'm actually not sure where to check on that. I just hope it got a lot of views. I did see the UFC reposted my finish, and I thought that was pretty cool because they obviously have a huge following, and they were like tweeting it out and posting it, so it was cool to see that everywhere. But yeah, I think that it is important, and but I think at the end of the day, my job is to win fights and put on the best performances. So I think just sticking with that, as long as I keep doing that, I think I'll be good with numbers. But yeah, I would like to see those numbers and see where I'm at.
Yeah, definitely. And when would you like to fight? Any in particular? I know you'll be in New York native at Square Garden. November 2nd pops out for you. That's going to be a big one.
Yeah, the New York one would be huge. I grew up in Buffalo, which it's not really that as close to Madison Square Garden as a lot of people think, but right. it is still in New York, and it's a close drive from not only Western New York and Buffalo where I grew up, but I have a huge following in, like the DC area. I have my two brothers and my sister live there, so I think anywhere in the Northeast, I think that card or the Boston card, even though it's kind of sooner, I think those would be two huge options, big for my following. But at the end of the day, wherever they want to send me and whoever they want me to fight, I sent them a list of names of people that I think would match up well with me. There's like 10, 15 names on that list.
Really?
But we'll see. At the end of the day, they make the call. They're probably gonna pick someone else, and probably give me wherever they want me to fight. Cause it's my debut. So, as much as I thought I looked good on the Contender Series, and I've already fought on the Ultimate Fighter, I haven't proven myself yet in the UFC. So that's where I'm headed next. Is really focusing on making a good debut.
Can you give us a couple of those names, for example? Who did you want to fight?
You'll have to wait and see. Honestly,
okay.
I actually didn't even. Most of the guys, I don't even know their names. But what I did was basically look through like the UFC roster and just started clicking on names. And obviously I want to fight the best in the world, but I want to start off fighting someone who's similar to my pedigree. And there's a lot of guys that have similar records, and there's a lot of guys who, in my opinion, like caked up their record, beat a lot of guys that weren't very good, and now they've won like one or two big fights. And I think that's where I'm at. I've won a couple of really big fights, and for my UFC debut, I want to fight someone similar to that.
Definitely makes sense. And who do you contribute to your success at Gracie Tampa South? Who do you feel like contribute to your success?
Yeah, definitely all my coaches. Matt Arroyo is, he's my head instructor. He's my manager, so he's definitely a huge part of it. He's the one who owns Gracie Tampa South. I've been training here since 2010. My Muay Thai instructor, Dan Rawlings, he's kind of taking me under his wing. I work with him probably the most. Punching, kicking, throwing knees, basically just doing Muay Thai. My wrestling coach, Adam Cantor, I work with him every single Saturday. We run sprints and do just pure wrestling after. Those are like the main coaches. There's a bunch of jiu-jitsu coaches. There's a bunch of guys that hold mitts for me and do like boxing work. And really just our whole team, everyone at GTS, they're right now the physical ones that are contributing the most. And then of course I have a huge, list of family and friends that are outside of fighting, that live in like Tampa, live in Buffalo, live in DC, live in like the Virginia area. Just a huge team around me, and everyone helps me, and I try to give back as much as I can.
Definitely. I'm sure they're all proud of you as well.
Yeah, I think so.
What talk about being on Dana White Tuesday Contender Series and Ultimate Fighter? Like, what experience will stick with you longer? Because you're one of the very few to be on, successful on both. Obviously, you made it onto the show, and you won the contract from Dana White Tuesday Contender Series.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know this. I feel like the Contender Series hasn't really hit me yet. Like it hasn't set in.
Okay.
I'll probably still always remember the Ultimate Fighter. As just in general, the moments there, just because it was so long, it was it was 7 weeks, but I swear to God, it felt like it was 6 months because you get no phone, no TV. There's no way to like occupy most of your time. So you're basically just talking to people or you're training, and you're just a lot of times you're just by yourself, just thinking. So that it was 7 weeks, but it felt like it was so much longer because you're not focusing on anything else besides MMA, and it's a lot of time in the day, and no cell phone, nothing, no distractions. So the Ultimate Fighter was one of those experiences that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have done it. I'm glad I'm not going back. Like if they would have told me, like, oh, you won the contender fight, you can get a chance at the Ultimate Fighter, I'd probably say no.
Yeah, that's definitely understandable. And what can we expect from your UFC debut when you make your return to UFC Octagon? What can we expect?
Yeah, I'm already in the lab. I'm already back training again. I'm doing a lot of strength and conditioning right now, so I think it's just going to be a better version than me. And I've been able to, each fight make improvements. I realize that everyone's going to be able to see my last fight, and so I got to watch myself and basically backtrack and figure out how I would beat myself. Obviously, right now, I think that would be try to get a takedown, try to beat me up on the ground. They obviously know I'm going to come with good conditioning, good cardio. I'm always in shape when I fight. But yeah, just an improved version of myself of what you just saw. And I think that's definitely possible. I keep getting better and better, and I keep learning from each one of these fights. Now I understand like that early weigh-in, which is a little different. The early weigh-in, fighting like the middle of the day in Vegas, flying out for another fight. I've flown out for at least 10 fights already now. So yeah, just a better, improved version of what you saw last fight.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you taking time to be on the show, Billy. If there's anyone you'd like to thank, go ahead.
All right, thanks for having me, man. Thanks for all my sponsors. I got a whole list of them. You can follow me on Instagram, Billy Q MMA. Pretty simple. I always share a lot of stuff from my stories. And yeah, thanks for having me, man. The future looks bright, and I'll definitely come back on after my debut.
I appreciate it, Billy. Take care. Have a good one. Thanks for being on the show.
All right, brother. Take care.
Bye.